Galovina guia dolosana angito talita kini ana barong ng Bula FM e Golden Point Resort basendo nambando ana here binaka.
Bula binaka na adang kutevita utunggoy 90 ando talita wale barong ng Bula FM nambando ana sel.
Nada ko makilesi berkeraki NSB ng Bula FM nambando ana sel.
Elong ratu kitchen ko tabo ando talita na barong ng Bula FM nambando ana sel ngo lusu.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Jackie Spade, this is FBC News. Tonight, Fijian start preparations for arrival of Cyclone Zina. Floodwaters continue to rise in some areas, and movement restriction now in place for public. Tropical Cyclone Zina has intensified into a Category 3 system since midday today. The Fiji Meteorology Office confirms Tropical Cyclone Zina is expected to start affecting the Fiji group from tonight. Akusita Tale reports that at the rate at which it is travelling, this may be the fastest moving system monitored in recent years.
The Category 3 system was located 535 kilometers west of Nadi at midday today. It's currently moving east-southeast at 40 kilometers per hour. Close to its center, the cyclone is estimated to have average winds of 120 kilometers an hour and momentary gusts to 170 kilometers per hour.
We are issuing the respective warnings for places in Fiji that are going to be affected. Initially, the warning right now is for a hurricane force winds to be experienced towards Kandavu, Vatulele, Benga and the nearby smaller islands, and also for the southern Lau group as the tropical cyclone moves across.
TC Zina is expected to pass between Vitilevu and Kandavu from tonight. On this track, the cyclone is expected to be located about 150 kilometers southwest of Nadi at midnight tonight. Funaki says they will not rule out the possibility that it can intensify further into a Category 4 system.
When it comes in, it's going to come in overnight. It's a danger, another dimension to the system that we are monitoring. At the same time as well, because there is an active trough that is associated with it, is the reason why we've been receiving a lot of rainfall over the course of the last 24 hours. And it's also the reason why there's a lot of flooding, not only along the low-lying flood-prone areas, but also along the major rivers.
Funaki says people shouldn't be complacent with the prolonged dry period in the past few hours, as TC Zina is expected to bring with it destructive winds when it approaches the country. He says very destructive hurricane force winds may begin several hours before the center passes overhead or nearby.
You're looking at a system that is a very small and very compact system. So it can be very deceiving because of the clear skies that we're getting up there. Just in the case of what we experience, once it comes in closer, then it will bring with it its own share of weather. And once that happens, there will be a drastic change in the weather.
A hurricane warning is now in force for Vatulele, Benga, Kandavu and nearby smaller islands. A storm warning remains in force for Yasawa and Mamanuca group, Vitilevu, Lomaiviti and the southern Lau group. A gale warning remains in force for the northern Lau group. A strong wind warning remains in force for the rest of the Fiji group. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
The National Disaster Management Office is tonight advising people to store water, food and other supplies and expect heavy rain and strong winds. NDMO Director Akapusi Tuifangalele says the total number of evacuees stands at 6,406, sheltering in 142 evacuation centres around Fiji. Tuifangalele says there are 134 evacuation centres in the Western Division. 14 evacuation centres are open in the Eastern Division with 223 evacuees. Currently, there is only one evacuation centre open in the Central Division, and Tuifangalele says evacuation centres are also being reactivated in Levuka.
Towards the midnight, would sort of feel the brunt of this tropical cyclone Zina, especially on the southern part of Vitilevu. There's been an increase in the number of evacuation centers in the country because of Zina. Remain, we have 1 dead and 1 missing.
Tuifangalele says people need to also be aware that they cannot be moving about after 6 tonight, and police officers will also be out and about ensuring the safety of the public.
All of the police in the various divisions that they are being in, they have already been tasked with the responsibility. So we would expect the public to actually be meeting the police if they're still around by 6 o'clock this evening.
An indefinite countrywide restriction of movement order is in place from this hour. A government statement says to preserve safety and public order prior to the arrival of tropical cyclone Zina, all members of the public are to remain indoors and secure their properties until further notice. The Fiji Police Force, in support of the Emergency and Discipline Services, will ensure the maintenance of this order. Only movement of emergency and essential services will be permitted. Meanwhile, all schools will also be closed tomorrow all around Fiji. A last-minute rush was made by many of those finishing work and moving out of Suva City. Traffic heavier than usual was seen around Flagstaff and Grantham Road. People were seen taking last-minute precautions, queuing up at the service station. With most supermarkets in the city closed, people were buying the essentials from the service stations. Heavy wind and rain was experienced earlier today in Kandavu despite tropical cyclone Zina's location of 535 kilometers west of Nandi at the time. The effects of tropical cyclone Zina evident early this afternoon, with tropical cyclone Zina, a category 3 cyclone, predicted to pass through Vitilevu and Kandavu later tonight through to tomorrow morning. Kandavu's provincial administrator, Benny Torra, says the village leaders have been informed and communities have been preparing throughout the day for the cyclone.
We tell all the people near the shoreline that they have to move up to high ground, especially for the evacuation centers. We have altogether 82 evacuation centers. None has been activated. We have been shifting families around, especially here in the government station, to go on the stronger house for them to be there tonight. With all our 75 villages, the Rokotui has been conversing with them on steps to be taken while Zina is coming over tonight.
Acting Director for the Fiji Meteorological Services, Misaile Funaki, says a hurricane warning was issued this afternoon for Kandavu, Benga, Vatulele, Yanutha and the Southern Lau Group. Coming up on FBC News, Bar River breaks bank, floods town. And Vudi residents prepare for rising floodwaters. Stay with us.
Namaste, Golden Point Resort. Raki Raki Me. Mirchi FM is garam garam. Mirchi FM is hot.
I'm Sanjay Taguake. Mirchi FM is hot.
I'm Harshana. I love Mirchi FM. It's hot in Lautoka.
Hi, मैं अविनाशु. मैं लंबासा से बोल रहा हूँ. मैं हमेशा मिर्ची FM सुन रहा हूँ. मिर्ची FM is so hot.
मैं शालिनी देवी from Covert Avenue. जैसे आग खुलती है वैसे मिर्ची FM मुझे मस्त कर देती है. Mirchi FM is hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Welcome back. This is FBC News. Bar River broke its banks at 7 this morning with continuous rain overnight and throughout the morning. The town was inundated with floodwaters. A few business owners attempted to salvage merchandise after floodwaters rushed through the town, causing last-minute evacuations. Evacuation centres are open and active, with Basanatan School open since yesterday morning, catering for families residing in low-lying and flood-prone areas. The Vudi South Road in Nausori was also underwater today. The residents located near have started to take extra precautions before darkness. Vashnil Prasad with this report.
This is the result of heavy downpour for the past 2 days. Located off Nausori, the Vudi South Road is underwater, causing difficulties for the villages nearby.
I think if the rain continues, it will be worse. It will be very hard for traffic, for cars and buses to use this access road to go to Nosori or Suva.
Villagers say if it continues raining here, it can get worse. Right now, this road is accessible to transport, but 50 houses which falls along this road are in danger of getting underwater.
If water keeps on rising, there will be about 50 houses, which I know that they can go underwater. And most of the houses are high. I think they are safe. But which are the low houses which are low, then they might be the one that will suffer when the water level increases.
Some residents say they have been facing the problem of flooding for more than a decade.
This problem has always been a major concern every time. You see the water level right now, it's low tide. So when the tide comes up, the water level rises and drops with the tide. So accessibility right now, it's with us right now, we have to either catch the bus or walk home. You know, it's always been this trouble has always been here for a long time.
The current water level poses less threat, but if it continues to rain, this area will be severely affected. Vashnil Prasad, FBC News.
Those residing in the Western Division are now bracing themselves for what effects Tropical Cyclone Zina might have on them. Ba, Tavo and Raki were the worst affected areas during Cyclone Winston, and most in these areas are still rebuilding. They say the current system is making most people nervous.
Last night it's raining very heavy, and in the morning 7 o'clock the flood is here. We have seen that the flood coming heavier and heavier. We always get prepared when we get the news about the flood and the hurricane. We always get prepared.
The Northern Division is safe from the path of Tropical Cyclone Zina. The Weather Office says Vanua level will only experience heavy rain and some winds. Eleanor Rangaivu with this report.
Vanua level is not in the projected path of Category 3 Tropical Cyclone Zina. However, people living in low-lying areas should expect flooding as heavy rain and winds will affect the Northern Division.
With the current movement of Cyclone Zina coming in, I suggest that we start moving while it is till daylight set. The timing is about 12 midnight to 3 a.m. in the morning, which will be very difficult for us if heavy rain does occur and flash floods, and it will be very difficult for us for rescuers to come and rescue.
Rain over the past 2 days has caused flooding in some low-lying areas. At Ngelemomo outside Lambasa, this bridge which leads to the village has been partly washed out. The scene is similar to that at Navakuru crossing, where floodwaters have caused road closure. Wainikoro Road is also closed.
Be careful while crossing flooded roads and crossings as well at the same time, as well as can also take people's life as well at the same time.
Some evacuation centers have been activated by DSMAC for residents living in and around the low-lying areas of Lambasa who might be affected by the heavy rain and winds.
They may take radios, they may take torches, candles, and some basic food items so that they can have their food meals inside the evacuation centers.
This has been the situation here in Lambasa since this morning. The Weather Office says we should be getting some rain, which may be heavy at times, and there is likelihood of flash flooding in the low-lying areas. Eleanor Turangebu, FBC News.
There is currently only one active evacuation centre in the Lia Navua. Commissioner Central Setareki Tale says water levels in the rivers in the divisions are slowly rising, but the Rewa and Navua rivers have not reached critical levels as yet. Tale says with more rain and the high tide schedule for this hour, major rivers are expected to burst its banks. The crossing at Tonga in Rewa is closed off. All evacuation centres in the Rewa Delta, Tailevu South and Navua are on standby. Retail shops and supermarkets around Suva were a hive of activity as people rushed to buy last-minute rations. Most businesses kept their shops open during the day to allow people to do their last-minute shopping. Kelly Vadala has the details.
The capital city was a hive of activity as people rushed to do their last-minute preparation for the arrival of Cyclone Zina.
All the retailers are optimistic for better business. Currently it's good, it's normal. but I think we'll need to advise our members not they will be closing down shorter today as the situation deteriorates. But I'll urge all the retailers to assess the situation themselves. Because at the end of the day, we all want the staffs, the property and everything to be safe.
So we've been open till from 9 in the morning, right? So business are getting people are coming in to buy their basic necessities like torch, batteries. So we are here to fulfill their needs and wants for this natural disaster.
Despite the current weather situation, the businesses here in the capital still continued as normal, with people doing their last-minute shopping in preparation to Cyclone Zina.
We heard that business were going to close at around 2 p.m. I've come to buy some groceries like tin canned foods, flour, biscuits and rice just to help me prepare for the worst. And plus, since there have been electricity out.
By 4 p.m. this afternoon, businesses were being told to close their shops as a curfew is now in place. Kalivadala, FBC News.
Coming up on FBC News, we have more on the weather.
Yandra, I love listening to Gold FM at Golden Point Resort. Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Hola, my name is General from Rakiraki Village. I love listening to Gold FM, only the classic.
I'm Moses from Valeu. I love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
My name is Marida Manako. I'm from Kandavu. I like listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
My name is Silipa from Tavor Town. I love listening to Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the...
Welcome back. This is FBC News. Residents in Nandi woke up to heavy rain and strong winds this morning as Tropical Depression 16F gained strength and intensified into a tropical cyclone overnight. Many affected residents had to move to higher grounds this morning as a heavy downpour flooded rivers and streams. Akusita Thale is in Nandi and files this report.
Flood waters rushed into many homes living alongside major rivers and streams as heavy rainfall quickly increased water levels. FBC News visited Nakabu village with only a few houses seen and the rest filled with water. Residents say they had cleaned up yesterday when water level receded, but when they woke up this morning, water had seeped into their homes again.
It has been raining for the past 4 days and now this is the 5th day. I have told family members here to keep themselves safe and don't worry about their house and their belongings, just to worry about their lives.
We are here at Navodi village just outside Nandi, and as you can see behind me, more than 8 houses are already underwater. Most of these houses have been underwater since Friday. Families have left their homes to seek shelter at the nearby evacuation centers. Nakabu village has been underwater from Friday. However, when water level receded yesterday, residents started moving back home to begin their cleanup. It was a different story from last night.
This is a ground. Because of the heavy rain ever since Monday, Tuesday, today is Wednesday. Yesterday the water level went down, but then again it came back up this morning. After a big clean up yesterday, it came back up this morning. So as you can see, the water level is still up.
Nandi town was under heavy security as movement was restricted into town premises. Nandi Back Road, Lengalenga Road, Sambeto Road and Namotomoto were all flooded, making services inaccessible.
Okay, so far I've been in Nandi for quite a while, but since 2012, the last flood, this was like, for my experience, it's almost be the same as the last one, the 2012 one. I think it will be worse than the last few days. So far for the rain and the strong wind warning coming up this afternoon, it will be worse than the last 2 days.
People are being advised to move to evacuation centers now as flooding of low-lying areas, including major rivers, and sea flooding of low-lying coastal areas is possible. Akusita Thale, FBC News.
Except for a few shops, Lautoka's central business district was closed at a little after midday today. That's for preparations of the imminent arrival of tropical cyclone Zina in the coming hours. Madi Mbolai Tamana with this report.
Lautoka was practically a ghost town a little after midday today, with the exception of a few supermarkets open to accommodate last-minute shoppers.
I got 4 children and a wife.
Coming to do some last-minute shopping?
Some last-minute shopping, to buy some batteries, some candles, and some biscuits and some other stuff ready for the hurricane.
Apart from shopping, preparing for the arrival of tropical cyclone Zina and learning from the lessons of Winston has been on the minds of many.
Came with my family last minute shopping before tropical cyclone come. It's a category 3 now, but we have to be worried now because of what happened to us during Cyclone Winston. Everybody's preparing now.
Authorities have reiterated the call not to be complacent and to prepare well as tropical cyclone Zina heads our way. Matthew Politamana, FBC News.
People living along the Singatoka River have been moving to higher grounds as water levels are still rising. Yavulo, Nahingatoka and Lawai villages, which are situated near the Singatoka River, are flooded. Police officers have been on standby and stopping people from entering the town. There are 4 evacuation centres active near the town. Meanwhile, despite several warnings, people, mainly children, were seen near swimming spots around the country. The water level has also been rising at the Nangali village in Naitasiri. This was the scene this morning whereby the flood water had crossed over the old Nangali bridge plus the farms of the nearby villages. Villagers are also taking the precautionary measures, securing their homes for the night. Meanwhile, in Nausori, there was a traffic disturbance near the airport around midday today. A Fiji Electricity Authority post fell, causing a major traffic jam. The vehicle drivers and passerby pedestrians said due to the live wire crossing, it was difficult to travel to the other side of the road. A hurricane warning is in force for Vatulele, Mbenga, Kandavu and nearby smaller islands. A storm warning remains in force for Yasawa and the Mamanutha group. A gale warning remains in force for the Northern Lao group. A strong wind warning remains in force for the rest of Fiji. Tropical cyclone Zina was located about 360 kilometers west of Nadi at 3 p.m. today. The cyclone is currently moving east-southeast at 40 kilometers an hour. Close to its center, the cyclone is estimated to have average winds of 120 kilometers an hour and momentary gusts to 170 kilometers an hour. On this track, the cyclone is expected to be located about 240 kilometers south-southeast of Nadi at 3 a.m. tomorrow and about 660 kilometers east-southeast of Nadi at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Very destructive hurricane-force winds may begin several hours before the center passes overhead or nearby. Recapping the main stories for tonight, Cyclone Zina moves towards Fiji. Floodwaters continue to rise in some areas and movement restriction in place from this hour. For these stories and others, you can tune in to our 6 radio stations, which will have the latest updates on the hour all of tonight. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page, FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. You've been watching FBC News. I'm Jackie Spate. Good night and stay safe.
एलिन लटका में मिर्ची एफएम को लॉक कर दिया जाए. मिर्ची एफएम, it's hot.
हम नकाशी से साइमान है. हम वेजिटेबल जैसे नंबर 1 है, वैसे मिर्ची एफएम नंबर 1 है.
My name is Dinesh. हम नैनी में काम करता है स्लीपिंग जैन जिपलाइन में और मिर्ची एफएम is hot. I like it.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.